Business Now with Stephen here on set, and he's starting with some bumper results. This is from Facebook this time, isn't it?
That's right. The world's biggest social network continues to grow. Facebook now counts 1.65 billion monthly active users. That's up 15% in the first 3 months of this year. Net profits of the company nearly tripled, I should say, over the same period, up from $512 million last year to more than 1.5 billion in the first quarter of 2016. Revenue soared too, driven by mobile advertising, which is up by more than 70% in the last year. The company also announced changes to its share structure, which will allow it to issue a new kind of shares while permitting founder Mark Zuckerberg to maintain his control over the firm. The move will allow Zuckerberg to carry out his pledge to give away 99% of his stocks during his lifetime.
Let's have a look at the markets. What's happening?
European shares opening in the red today. Paris, London and Frankfurt all trading down at the open. Banks are among the biggest fallers. Spain's BBVA down almost 6% after its latest results. I saw a great picture at banks across Europe. Over on the Asian markets, the big story was in Japan, where the Nikkei closed down over 3.5%. That's after the Bank of Japan chose not to increase its monetary stimulus programme. A mixed picture, though, on the rest of the Asian markets.
Now, here in France, arts industry workers have ended their protest that saw them occupy several theatres. This has been happening here in Paris, hasn't it?
The protests have been going on since Sunday, with artists and technicians disrupting performances at several landmark theatres in the French capital. A deal has now been reached which will avoid cuts to the special income support scheme that independent workers in the arts can benefit from in France. The system is facing a huge funding shortfall, but workers are resisting any cuts. Shirley Sitbon has the details.
A breakthrough in a dispute that had led to police being called to remove protesting workers from theaters in Paris. Artists and technicians have occupied several theaters since Sunday, demonstrating against cuts to their special income support scheme. They interrupted some shows, like Romeo and Juliet at the landmark Comédie Française Theatre. But their protest may be over now that their unions have reached an agreement with employers' representatives. Independent workers in creative industries in France, including film, television and theatre, benefit from a system which supports their income when they're not working. Unlike most French workers who have to work 610 hours to get 4 months unemployment benefits, independent artists have to work 507 hours to get 8 months worth of unemployment. While some say the system is too generous, artists explain it's necessary to support French culture.
With all the time and energy that we put into research, the production stage of putting a project together, we're never paid equally for how much we've worked, far from it.
France's unemployment body, UNEDIC, says the independent workers system costs almost 1 billion euros every year. After weeks of negotiations on how to plug a deficit in the fund, employers are said to have agreed to increase their own contribution to the Artists' Fund by 1%. The remaining 80 million euros will then be contributed by the state. Before it can be applied, the deal will have to be officially signed and to be approved by the state's unemployment body.
Some more of the day's business headlines for you now. Profits at Samsung rose by 12% in the first 3 months of the year, boosted by sales of its new Galaxy S7 smartphone. The S7 looks set to break a record for shipments of Samsung phones. That's despite a report from Strategy Analytics saying the smartphone market actually shrank in the first quarter, marking the first ever decline in this area. And profits at Deutsche Bank fell by 58% in the first quarter. The earnings driven down by its investment bank, which was hit by turbulence on the markets at the start of the year. But the German lender actually beat expectations by reporting a profit at all. Finally, from me, I'll go back to Facebook to bring you the slightly worrying fact that people now spend more time with their Facebook friends than with their real friends. Mark Zuckerberg says we spend an average of 50 minutes a day on Facebook, Messenger and Instagram apps, while the most recent study from the US Bureau of Labour Statistics shows that Americans on average spend only 43 minutes a day socialising, such as visiting friends or attending social events. So more time with your Facebook friends than with your real friends.
That's quite funny, isn't it? The most worrying thing is actually that people spend 43 minutes a day socialising with friends. During the week, I just sleep when I'm not at work. Yeah, I don't think this counts, I'm pretty sure. We make up for it at the weekend.
Exactly.
Stephen Carroll with Business on France 24.